Who is Kash and what's his story?
You want the professional version or the?
I want the unhinged version.
The unhinged version is just one question for you, man.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes I notice the guests are looking at you when they're talking.
Dude, it's
sometimes
like
they're looking at the
completely
camera.
candid, whatever you want to do.
Okay,
It's like a conversation, and the entire point of this is that I don't want it to feel like a podcast.
Okay.
It feels like, two friends just like talking, because that's like the best kind of conversation, right?
Cool.
And like there are so many new people who are entering the space, they would want to learn from you. So that's the motive.
I don't recommend it to the people at home, but yeah. Okay.
All right, we'll get started.
Cash in the left of me, cash in the right of me, cash in the front of me, cash in the back.
Welcome to Dubai, welcome to Crypto Town. If we were live streaming this, I would have asked everyone to drop a dozen in the chat. But nonetheless, you've recently moved to Dubai, right? And you're in the Crypto Town now. How's it like?
Feels great, honestly. So I haven't gone out in the crypto town so much because I have a young daughter, but it feels, you can feel the energy in the city. There's constantly people flying in and out, like builders, people on the capital side. The regulation here is very friendly. So it clearly is the case that Dubai is like a future hub.
And you have like your Superteam UAE Habibis hosting like some awesome event.
Yeah. Shout out Alex Scott.
Shout out to Alex, definitely. Who is Kash and what's his story?
You want the professional version or the?
I want the unhinged version.
The unhinged version is I am a degenerate gambler. So I am the Sherpa of Superteam, which is a made-up title, as you know. I made it up. Basically, I was part of the founding team. We help projects and entrepreneurs all around the world kind of build valuable things on Solana specifically. So we onboard people, whether they're developers, marketers, motion graphics people, anyone who can kind of contribute value to the ecosystem. And so most of my time is spent doing that and trying to make sure that people are finding opportunities from all around the globe. I think we have 11 super teams globally now, in the UAE and a few other countries. And then outside of that, I'm also an advisor to a bunch of projects. I do some angel investing. I'm on the Jupiter working group leadership thing. I'm on the Meteora DAO Council. And basically, I have my fingers in a bunch of pots. If it's like a cool Solana project, I want to be involved in some fashion.
Right. So that's the professional part of things, right? Who is Kash personally, right? Like, if we were to start your journey right from the start when you were a child, like what were some things that really interested you? I know that you're an art addict, as you call yourself, right? You curate a bunch of like contemporary art, and now you started doing that with NFTs as well, right? You've studied philosophy. So if we want to dive into those parts as well.
Yeah, so I think, I was born and raised in the States, in an area called Pittsburgh, which is, I think, like my high school was like 92% white or something like that. And I was a brown kid after 9/11. So it's like a very interesting atmosphere to be in. But I think as a result, I kind of like found a lot of ways to try to connect with people around me. Like the arts was the main one. So indeed, I've been interested in the arts for a long time. At the time, I was also interested in a lot of business stuff. So since I was like 12 or 13, I was like starting little businesses like landscaping, car washes, all that kind of stuff.
I mean, your surname is Dhanda, right? Which means business in Hindi.
It's in my blood, yeah. Little did I know, actually. I didn't even know what that meant until I was like maybe 22. I had no sense. No one had ever told me in my life, But there's a fun idea of like nominative determinism, where you see a lot of this happening, where someone's name is like John Hart and they become a doctor or something like that. And so it clearly happened to me inadvertently, which is an interesting other side note. But so yeah, I was like mostly in the arts as a way to like kind of connect with other people. And then I was mostly like working. So from the time I was maybe like 12 or 13, I was starting businesses. Then I did everything.
What kind of businesses?
Mostly like little side hustle, like child businesses, so we'd like just knock on doors until people let us wash their car. And the cars would be like worse after the washing than before, but they'd still give us whatever $5 and let us go. We did landscaping for a while. We like helped people move stuff for a little while. All these like little types of things, reselling snacks that we would buy at the grocery store and selling those at school and so on. And then I started working kind of when I was like 15, maybe. I like used to be the guy that collected carts in the parking lot. That for years, cashier. So basically, I was like always kind of hustling since I was young to try to get a little bit of money and have some fun.
And after that, like, did you move to London? Like, when did you move to London? Like, where did you study or major? Like, you majored in philosophy and everything, right? So how was that like?
So I went to a giant high school. So my graduating class was like 700 people. I went to public school in America. And I knew that after that, I wanted a somewhat smaller kind of experience. So I went to school in Washington University in St. Louis. And I think our class is maybe like 2,500 or something. So not too big for an American university. While I was there, I met my wife, my ex-girlfriend, now my wife, I suppose, who's from Dubai. And so it wasn't until after college, we lived in America together for 4 or 5 years, and then we moved to Singapore first. And so I was in Singapore for another 5-ish years, right around the time I was like starting to really get interested in crypto. That's when that kind of like took off. And then London came after that, and now the next chapter is probably going to be.
And how did you come across philosophy? Like, were you always interested in that?
Yeah, so I was I mean, if we're speaking among friends. So like I was never very religious, and I grew up in a relatively religious part of America. Like the Midwest is oftentimes like very Christian. And so I didn't have that. It's kind of like a scaffolding for my life in the way a lot of my friends did. So I was drawn into existentialism first when I was maybe like 14 or 15, starting to read like Jean-Paul Sartre and some of these other guys. And so I knew I was kind of interested in big ideas. And at the time, you know, I had a little chin beard. I thought of myself as like a miniature philosopher or whatever else. And because I did a lot of work in the arts, like I worked at a museum and stuff like that, I was around these people who I thought had a lot of big ideas all the time. And so philosophy seemed like the kind of coolest thing that I could probably do with my time.
Yeah.
I kind of hedged a little bit. So I did political philosophy so that I could go to like law school or something else afterwards if I needed to.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I kind of found my way. It was just reading on my own and then discovering that in college is like a real passion.
Is there anything that you learned from philosophy that you can apply in building communities as well, or like running DAOs, or just like organizing massive number of people together?
A lot of it is very cynical. So like my concentration was mostly in postmodern political philosophy. So postmodern philosophy is like a movement that started roughly in like the 1950s, 1960s on the continent. And mostly what they found is like, hey, most everything is bullshit. And, you know, like this idea of like continuous progress is not really a thing. What happens is societies kind of like readapt their definitions of progress over time to make themselves always seem as if they're like at a culminating point.
Right.
These ideas of like grand narratives tend to not actually be anything more than disguising existing power dynamics under kind of like a user-friendly cloak and so on. So I think what it gave me was more of like a skepticism of kind of like raw idealism. And I think that's helped make me maybe more pragmatic in like connecting with people. And when I think about building communities or building with people, I think I'm very aware that there's no such thing as like a pure democracy. And really what you want to do is identify the people who are kind of equipped to handle power without the kind of like thirst for it. So maybe it's made me better on the margins of kind of like talent search and finding people who have some degree of charisma without the ego that can kind of corrupt any community from being built.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
All right. You said that you really are into playing poker and gambling, right? Is that limited to playing poker, or do you have like your fun on your on-chain casino, which we call crypto?
Oh yeah, I absolutely do. So like I started playing poker when I was like 14 or so, and like my most toxic belief is that like I could have been a pro poker player, but my dad stopped me from playing online when I was like 15 and whatever. But so yeah, I still play a bunch of poker, and I do a bunch of degen stuff on chain. I don't recommend it to anyone viewing. Like you should absolutely not do it.
Right.
But yeah, I am like certainly every day trading some kind of meme coin. My favorite Twitter list is called the Solana Shitcoin Casino. And so like I just check that every morning. And the best thing was actually when my daughter was born in early December, I took a month off and just like to raise her. But you know, kids don't sleep so much. You gotta do something all day. And they're like, while she's sleeping in my lap, I gotta do something. And so that's when I got like giga deep into meme coins. And so basically made enough money then to kind of pay off at least 1 year of her education.
Which are some of the favorite meme coins that you've been trading?
So I've been in WIF and Bonk. So I've been in Bonk for a long time. Everything I do is confined to the Solana ecosystem, I should say. So I've known Gnome and those guys for a long time. They gave the Bonk airdrop to Superteam members like a year and a half ago. I think at its height, it would have been valued at like $400,000, that airdrop. So ever since then, been really into them and been a long-time Bonk supporter. WIF is probably where I've done the best financially. I just happened to kind of like get into that early. And I don't know if you noticed the dog.
Dog.
It's got a good hat. And so like that's given me long-term conviction in this kind of stupid world of ours. And then I have a bunch of like smaller, silly things. I got into like Joe Biden, Trump, those kind of political meme coins and stuff.
Aligns with your political philosophical background.
So actually, I got a DM once about these guys who were doing like a MAGA coin. And I was like, I can tell this is gonna fly, but fuck Donald Trump and fuck Republicans generally. And so like I couldn't, my political beliefs wouldn't let me. They kept me poor. And that's it. And after I made that mistake, then I was like, fuck it, I'll buy Donald Trump, and started to open up a little bit.
Awesome.
Yeah.